a recording, and he asked me to listen to it. And there was a gentleman named Earl Nightingale, and it's somebody I'd never heard of before, but he was a radio personality, and I think he was also an author. And I listened to it, and there was a challenge in there, and I wanted to present it today to see if anyone else would be interested in this challenge. But this is a radio program that he put on over, it was in 1952 is when it was actually done. And it's about an hour long, and so what I had actually done is I took the things that I liked most about it, and I just put it in to today's presentation. And so, again, a lot of this is taken from just a presentation. It was called The Strangest Secret. It has a lot to do with us as individuals and how we think about ourselves and our businesses and a lot of different things like that. And so he talks about the way that we can become extremely wealthy. And that was what the speech was about, but it had a lot of good nuggets inside of it. And I wanted to share that today with you guys. So hopefully you'll get something out of this. I've listened to it now 3 times, and I really liked it. And he talked about us as Americans. We live in a great country. As many problems as we see, there's so many opportunities here for us to do so well. I've lived in a different country for a couple of years, and I've traveled abroad quite often. And every time I leave, I look around and see all the stuff that we have in our country and how clean things are. And I realize, we take those things for granted as Americans. We don't realize how blessed we are. Everything this country stood for and, why it was formed and stuff brings us up to, we can act the way we want to, we can be with who we want to be to, we can worship how we want to be, we can work where we want to. And even though there's enough problems in our country, it's still better than anywhere else. So a lot of times we take these opportunities for granted. And if we realized how much abundance was around us, we would take advantage of those situations. And knowing that, still working with businesses, more than half of them fail. And not because they have a bad product or anything like that, but they just don't take advantage of the opportunities. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that today and things that we can actually do to make our businesses a little bit better. So according to Earl Nightingale, he says success is a progressive realization of a worthy ideal. So what that means, he says those that are successful, truly successful, are the ones that simply focus on progressively realizing those worthy ideals. As they get one thing, they focus on one thing, and everything is focused on that, something that's good, and they just work hard to make sure that they get that. And it doesn't matter what that is. It could be, he talked about some of the best people that he's ever worked around were teachers and homemakers. And he says it doesn't matter what you do, whether you own a convenience store, a home service company, if you're truly focused on making it the best, you'll be extremely successful. And so he puts this question out and I've had this before, where I've had lots of franchises in the same room, business owners in the same room, and they ask me this question is, if you take one company that's similar in a demographic, and you find that he or she is coming, a lot more success quicker, why is that? Why is it if I take 2 people, one's more successful than the other one if they're placed in similar situations? Why is that? And he goes, he asked the question, what is the key to being completely successful? He does this analogy about a boat, a ship that goes across the ocean. He said, before we had GPS and all these fancy gadgets and stuff so we know where we are all the time, that boats use the stars and they use compasses. And they got to their goal pretty much every single time, but before they even left the harbor, that boat knew exactly where it was going at all times. And to cross the ocean, if you're going from Europe to America, that was quite a journey at the time. But they knew exactly where they were at all times. And so they left knowing, I'm going to get there. And so they leave for that destination. It has that goal in mind. It has its coordinates, and it makes it nearly every single time. The only time it wouldn't get there is if they were lost somehow. And typically they got lost if there were multiple storms and they were not able to find the stars, and or the compass broke. They usually always made it to their destination unless they sunk or they ran out of food and water because they were lost. And again, the only way they were lost is if they did not know how to navigate the stars and stuff. And that usually happened is if they were in the middle of the ocean and somebody passed away that was in charge of finding out where they go. Anyway, compares the ship to men is how many of us know every single day exactly where we're going? And that's a question I have to even ask myself constantly is every single day, where am I trying to get to? Like that ship knows I'm crossing the ocean and I'm coming to this exact harbor at this exact location. How many of us know when we have our business exactly where it's going, not only today, but tomorrow, a month from now, a year from now, where it's going at all moments? Men succeed when they have goals, and the men without goals actually fell. One of the things that he said that was very profound to me, he says, if a man puts his mind to a predetermined outcome and they focus all of our attention to it, he will get there. Talked about in the United States, and again, this speech was given clear back in 1951. It's a great recording. Most people over 65 are broke. And it was a scary statistic back then. I think less people are broke. And he said, everybody starts on the same path. You know, you learn to read by the time you're 6. You're dating, and by the time you're 15, 16, and usually by the time we're 25, we're supporting someone else, whether it's a boyfriend, girlfriend, family member, or have your own family. And so, but most people, by the time they're 65, are dependent in some way upon somebody else. And so the question is asked, why is that? Why is it that way? And his answer is because we conform. He said people believe their careers, many people believe their careers are shaped by someone else and by exterior circumstances, and most don't even know why they go to work. You ask people, why do you go to work? And usually the answer is to support myself, support my family. And a lot of them simply don't know. As we conform, we were taught, grow up, go find a 9-to-5, put a little bit of money away. At some point, the government's going to take care of us and we're going to retire. We know that doesn't happen unless we take care of ourselves. In most cases, we're not going to be as good off as we were told we were going to be. So, all right. Talks about the key to success and the key to failure. He says, we become exactly what we think about. And I thought that was quite profound. If the things that we're constantly thinking about, that's what happens to us. If we're always thinking about we're going to be broke, well, guess what? We're going to be. We become what we think about. If you wish to be rich, you're going to be wealthy, as long as we don't clutter our minds up with other wishes. If we wish to get independent where we have enough time to spend with the ones that are most important to us, we will get there, as long as we don't clutter it with other things. And when I talk about clutter is self-doubt, defeat, negative thoughts that come to us, or listening to all the stuff around us. I watch the news very, very rare. I hardly ever watch it anymore. But every time I watch it, it's so negative, and I turn it off, because everything says gloom and doom, gloom and doom. And that's not how I was raised. And but it plants those seeds in your head, and I was watching a program a few months ago that says you'll never be as successful currently as our parents were, which I doubt that. I very much doubt that. So we become what we think about all the time. And so talks about this secret that he's talking about has been around for a long time. He says, Ralph Waldo Emerson says, a man is what he thinks about all day long, which is really true. Is we become what we think about all the time. If we think about negative, that's what creeps up into our life. William James said the greatest discovery of our generation is that we can alter our lives by changing our thoughts and our attitude. Everything in our lives will change as we set our course to success. So in Action Coach, and this is what I've taught for years and years, I said the thoughts times our actions give us our results. So if our thoughts are positive, typically our results will be positive as too, because usually your thoughts are what drive your actions. So if you're constantly thinking positive, 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 that's what happens. But it's also a double-edged sword, is if our thoughts are negative, typically so are the results. So he talks about believe. If you believe, you can achieve. And so I'm going to actually talk a little bit about goals here. So whoever's got the speakerphone, if they could turn that down, I appreciate it. Without goals and thoughts, our lives and businesses simply happen as they will. If we don't have that direction, that path that we're setting ourselves upon, we're heading from one side to the other, from the beginning of our life to the end of the life. If we don't have that written down, it just happens as it will, and we just kind of walk around aimlessly. Even in the Bible, it states that we sow what we reap. Our mind is like a field. Our field doesn't really care. If you look at fertile land, it doesn't care what's planted in there. Our mind is the same way. It doesn't care what's there. And so if you plant something good inside that fertile field, something good's going to come out of it. And our mind is the same way, as if we plant good thoughts inside of there, good comes out of it. And so moving forward, he says, decide now. And I want you guys to think for a moment, is what do you want? And I'm talking about your business. And we're dealing with a business right now, is what do you want? And just think about that for a moment. Why did we go into business? And now that we're here, what do we want out of it? What is it that you want? Once you decide, it could be riches. It could be just knowledge, wanting to get better. Get your business better so that you can have better health. It could be so that you have happiness, so you have the time to spend with your loved ones, people that are most important in your life. Decide now exactly what you're looking for. And picture yourself achieving those goals at all times. As you work towards it, it'll happen. And I'm going to tell you exactly what he was talking about and what he means by that. If any of you guys ever listened to or read The Secret, I'm a big fan of it. I actually have the CDs, and I listen to it quite often. He was talking about this in the 1950s. He said, we as humans are just a sum total of all of our thoughts. If we don't believe that we can be successful, guess what? We're not. If we don't believe we can market, guess what? If we're afraid to market, we're always going to be afraid. If we believe our own circumstances are stopping us from anything, guess what? Guess what? They do. They do stop you from doing anything that you absolutely want. Everything about us, our mind, our souls, our intelligence, came to us at no cost. We didn't pay for any of those. Those things were just given to us. But we place little value on anything that comes to us for free. Anything that's free, we don't value as much as we should. We place more value on anything that there is a cost to, that we actually had to work towards. And so we ask ourselves, why aren't we putting more value on those things, like our soul, our intelligence, those types of things? So here's some facts. Is the same rules that can give us success are double-edged swords that can also take us down. The reason why they call it the secret is because very few people apply it. Those that are successful, it didn't just happen upon. If you look at people that are really successful, success doesn't even have to be money. It can mean happiness. It can mean joy. It can be riches. It can be a lot of amount of time. Those people, that didn't just happen to them. They actually knew that they could, apply the self-thought and actually become more successful. The people that are millionaires and they pass it on to their children, they teach them those same things. I have a family relative, and they're extremely, extremely wealthy. And he told his kids, I'm not just going to give you wealth. I'm going to teach you how to make it. And he's always preached it to even myself. He tells us, he's like, you got to keep those negative thoughts out, because everywhere you go, there's naysayers saying you can't do it, or you're constantly being compared to your brother who's done really well, or to your father who's done really well. And he goes, if you believe those things, then that's exactly what will happen. He's got one brother that has not done so well, but 3 of the other brothers have done extremely well for themselves. So talks about this 30-day test. And this is something that I'm applying right now. I just started it on Friday after I listened to this because it was a really powerful recording. I'm going to send it out to everybody along with this. It talks about Sir Isaac Newton taught us a lot of the laws of physics, and one of the laws that he taught was for every action there is that reaction. We've heard that over and over and over. You know, nothing comes for nothing. Everything we want, a price must be paid in order to get it. So those of you that want to do this for the next 30 days, I want to challenge this to you, is the result of your next 30 days will be in direct proportion to the effort you give for the next 30 days. I'm going to tell you exactly what I mean by that. Is if you're willing to pay the price, there's a couple things that we have to understand. We have to understand that our thoughts control our actions, and our actions control our lives. So knowing that, cutting all negative thoughts that hold us back and rising above all narrow-minded thinking and prejudice and those that tell us those things is if you're able to avoid those, use all your courage to think positive and think about the goal from all angles, and you must be brave in this effort. You have to think about it constantly. So I'm going to tell you exactly what it is, and the final part of it is save 10% of each dollar you earn, and I'll tell you why in just a moment here. And the last part of it is you got to take action. Ideas are worthless without it. So here's the test. Each of us wants something, and each of us is afraid of something. There's always something that we want. But we all know in order to get that, whether it's riches or whatever it is, there's always something in the way. Nothing comes easily. So knowing that, what I want each of you to do, and you don't have to do it right now, but I'm going to give a minute here. Just write on a card what you want more than anything else. Be very specific, and this, have it as a single goal. And I want you to write it down first of all. And so I'm going to give everyone just a minute. Just think of something and write one thing down that you want really bad. Not a whole bunch of stuff. Just one thing. So I'll give it 1 minute here. Okay, 30 more seconds. Write something that you want really bad. A single goal. If you can't think of it in this short period of time, that's okay. I'll send this out. All right, so on that card, be very specific of what you're looking for. This is a 30-day test. Be very, very specific. Once you have that, carry it with you. I have mine right here in my pocket. So every time it's in my pocket, I carry business cards there and other people's business cards that I get. And so it goes where they're with them, and so it gets pulled out a couple of times a day. Look at every chance you get. Look at it before you go to bed. Look at it when you wake up in the morning. Look at it after you brush your teeth. Look at it before you start work, during lunch. Put it out there where you can see it. Look at it every chance you can get. So that's the first part of the goals. The second is, remember, you've got to think about it all the time. As you think about it, your mind doesn't know what's real and what's not real. You'll start seeing it, and it'll become your goal. You'll start seeing, as you start doing it, start seeing the abundance around you, and believe that it's yours, that you're actually looking for. This habit will persist in you as you get this thing started. What we're trying to do is actually create a habit, and so that's why it's a 30-day test. So the third part of this is kick out all the negative during these next 30 days that states, just things that tell you can't do it. Don't watch television programs that tell you how bad things are. Don't listen to people around you just telling you can't do this. Replace, anytime something negative comes into it, replace it with a positive. A lot of times it's just as simple as reading a card. During this 30 days, he talks about people will want to give up. He says that's just human nature, is it becomes difficult, people will give up. For this particular goal, do more than you actually have to do. Give of yourselves freely to other people. Ask people how you can help. If you give yourself to others, it comes back to you. It really does. And don't worry how the goal is going to happen. Just ponder on achieving it. You know, and all the old holy books, the Bible, the Quran, other holy books talk about finding what you're looking for. You know, it talks about ask and you shall receive. Those, it's kind of similar like that, as having that faith, those of you that believe in that. Do your goal like you've never done for 30 days. As you do it and you keep the negative out and you keep the positive in, it happens. It does actually happen. And do it like you've never done it before, and you'll start seeing it happen, but be persistent. If you stop at some point, like in week in, and you just give up or something, the only way this is going to work is you have to start over. You have to start over and do it again. Don't just say at week 7, I stopped, and then I'm going to start again on week 9. Start it over for 30 days. Don't be afraid. You know, stay the path and be positive, and don't worry about the petty stuff. Gets in the way. And listen to this as often as you can. And I'm going to send out the actual recording of the gentleman, this Earl Nightingale. I listened to it. It was fantastic. And he has a great radio voice. But listen to it. Listen to it and apply this 30-day test. He doesn't write it down because they didn't have webinars back there. And so he talks about, do you want to be rich? He said, if that is your 30-day goal, he said, it's easy. He goes, if you want to be rich, because all you have to do is start enriching others. And so he talks about it. And those that know his story, I read a little bit about it, is he started radio back in, I think it was Philadelphia, when there was no way to send it out to the masses. And so when he'd do radio, it was just broadcast to those right in his particular area. When he turned 50 years old, he hadn't made a whole bunch of money, hadn't made that much money at all, and he said he put this 30-day test to it. He actually read it from other philosophers. He put it to the test, and he said, there's got to be a way that I can do what I'm doing and actually make a lot more so that I can leave something for my family. And after the 30 days, it came up where it just appeared to him as, why don't I record, and then not record, why can't I broadcast into the multiple cities where they actually get my signal and record it on their signal as well. And so he actually started doing that, and he ended up making more money because everybody paid for those syndicated programs that would come directly from him until the entire country was listening to him. And he was famous before Zig Ziglar was famous, before he was on the radio, and some of the other authors. And so he put it to the test, and it actually works. So what I'm asking is, guys, do the same thing, is write it down on the card, try it out. I started last month, and I want to report and see how it went. And I'll share with you guys, my results after 30 days and how it went. Is being positive. Don't let the negative creep into it. Look at it constantly, and you'll actually see that it'll start happening. And so if it has to do with your business or another aspect of your life, put it to the test. It actually works. So, any questions? I'm going to send this out here. Start today, because the fact of the matter is you really have nothing to lose, and you've got everything to gain at this point. So start it today, and see if it works. Put it to the test. And so, guys, that's my webinar today. I put a recording, and I'm going to send it out to everybody here. It's going to be on the YouTube. A lot of them that I've